Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to everyone. On behalf of this Calcutta Debating Circle, we're extremely glad that all of you could take time off your busy schedule and grace this memorial service for one of our most cherished and loving founders, Dr. Sandip Chatterjee. I would urge everyone to kindly keep your phone on silent mode. We are very grateful and deeply touched by the presence of the Chatterjee family here to share our common loss. We are also thankful to Shaunak Chattopadhyay for agreeing to grace this evening with his smooth, soothing music, as well as remember our dear Dr. Chatterjee. Can we please have the monitor? Now I would request Mr. Pradeep Guptu, trustee, the Calcutta Debating Circle, and his dear friend to come up to the stage and share a few words.
Thank you, Natasha. Shudipda, Uttara, Dipannita, Tibo, and all members of the Chatterjee family, thank you for coming to this meeting. Friends of Sandip in the audience, I'll begin with the Sandipism. Many of you have been to CDC programs, and Sandip used to say that the Calcutta Debating Circle has been formed by a heart surgeon without a brain surgeon without a heart, and a journalist with neither. Sandip was wrong, because our version of the brain surgeon had a heart that was larger than anybody else's. And our version of the heart surgeon has a brain which is a torment to friend and foe alike. The journalist, of course, needs nothing because he had these two friends. So that part of his thing I accept. But being a neurosurgeon, Sandip brought to debating something that in Calcutta Debating Circle we really considered very precious, the sense of performance to debating. You might say your best word, but you should say it in a way that lasts in your mind and the words become immortal. And Sandip was famous for his presentation. You will hear from Professor Krishna Sen and from Johorda the very many aspects of Sandip's nature. But I remember in particular his sense of performance. And let me give you an example. He would come to a debate and say, is this a motion? This is the most harebrained motion I've ever heard. I'm always on the losing side. It must have come out of the brain of Pradeep Gupta. Nobody can debate this motion. I'm going to lose. It's going to be a disaster. And the opposition would think, Sandip Chatterjee is a great debater, but he's unprepared. We're going to defeat him this time. And it was all part of the art of sledging, because he would come onto the dais and absolutely crush the opposition. It was all a performance. And I think you remember Calcutta Debating Circle debates and the Telegraph debates because of this. Those memories that formed, not just by the words he said, but the way he said it. At the last Calcutta Club debate, when we had various visitors and some debaters, everybody agreed at the end of the debate that the best speech in the debate was the summing up of the chairman, because of, again, that content and that performance. I request you to remember Sandip for that, for the words that he immortalized because of his presence on stage and the way he presented these words. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll call upon Dr. Kunal Sarkar, trustee, Calcutta Debating Circle, and a dear friend of Dr. Chatterjee. Thank you.
Thank you all for making it this evening, because very seldom have we existed in times when a great amount of strife has been mixed with a good amount of grief. Myself and Sandip, if we go back, I think the tape will have to roll back a long, long time, perhaps with the exception of Dr. Sudip Chatterjee in the audience. I don't think any one of you knew him longer. And the Pandita, she's there. So we go back for a good part of 5 decades. And I remember our paths crossed as little, sort of schoolboy speakers when I was doing the extempore speeches for class 10. Those days we'd never had much debating in school, and Sandip was doing the extempore speeches for class 9. There were a gap of a few years, and we rejoined our debating union in medical college in 1984, when he in the first year and me in the second year, we formed a kind of debating duo which went on for a good part of the next quarter century, honestly. It's been a wonderful experience knowing him. And when we knew Sandip in medical college, we knew him. And with Sandip, we of course knew of Sudipda, a brilliant scholar, a brilliant senior we looked up to in medical college. And with him, he carried the legacy of Dr. Subir Chatterjee, his family. Dr. Subir Chatterjee, for us who were aspiring surgeons in our kindergarten surgery days in medical college, we were in the presence of a living legend. One of the first times when we visited their house in Baligan Circular Road, in the first time I saw Dr. Subir Chatterjee face to face, we were really trembling. We had heard of him. We had heard of the great surgeon who made the surgery of Hirschsprung's disease, one of the most complex conditions to treat in pediatric surgery, so fluent, so reproducible. We had great difficulty, forget about operating, even to spell Hirschsprung's disease was a big task for us. There we were in his presence. Sandip meant a lot to us. I remember Mashima, Meshomoshai, Shudipda, the so many lazy afternoons we've spent gossiping, chatting away in Baligan Circular Road. And then was Calcutta Debating Circle. Calcutta Debating Circle was a coinage that was given by Sandip. And no matter how busy he was absolutely particular and insistent upon the point that apart from our exhibition debates, we must maintain our connection with the schools and colleges, because through that we spread the word in our own little way of what civilized communication is and should be about. I only had one problem with him. It was terribly annoying, reminding Sandip time after time when the CDC meetings were on. I would call him. If it was a 7 o'clock meeting, you call him at 6:30, he's always tied up in something else. If it was a Zoom meeting, even then he would be attending an emergency. And then we had Sandip, who was a great traveler. And I used to joke with him that when Sandip stops traveling, if Sandip ever stops, it would be an equal loss both to surgery, aviation and debating, in that order. A relentless traveler. And mind you, Sandip was not traveling to please himself. He was a very committed academic. The side of him as an academician, as a very academic, committed neurosurgeon, is something many of the young ones in the profession would do extremely well to emulate. His academic prowess is something which is respected up and down his peer group, not only in the city, in the country and internationally. So friends, this time when we have the next CDC meeting, Sandip does have an excuse for not turning up. Reminding Sandip was hard. Remembering him would be harder. All we say is, Sandip is not just remembered, he is celebrated, he is cherished. Let us all do it in our own little way. Thank you. God bless him.
Thank you, Dr. Sakar. Dr. Chatterjee was loved by all, and this love extended beyond country borders and boundaries. We have 2 videos from our overseas associated reminiscing about their time spent with Dr. Chatterjee. Can we please play the video on the monitor, please?
I think when you scratch the surface of any of the members of the Calcutta Debate Circle, you find a Renaissance man or woman. And I think this was incredibly true for Dr. Sandip Chatterjee. Not only was he a famed neurosurgeon, but also a poet and a wildlife photographer, as well as a debater. And I think debate creates a home for all of us who are full of all of these interests and this joy in discovery of the world. And it's always wonderful to find your people who want to do this. I also think one of the things that was so impressive about Dr. Chatterjee was being in this position of being a famed neurosurgeon and not being content, but seeing all of the problems with public discourse and the way that people had conversations, and recognizing the importance of debate, and taking his time to be part of the group that set up the CDC. And for me, that sends such a powerful message that debate is something that everybody should be interested in. And he set such a powerful precedent, not just within Calcutta or India, but something that should be recognized globally.
And it is a wonderful thing that Dr. Chatterjee gave up so much of his valuable time to invest in the CDC and in debating. And he really shared an idea that we also both hold very strongly, that what's wonderful about debating as well is it brings together different people from different walks of life with different ideas and different experiences. And it encourages them not just to accept the world as they see it, but to think about it, to debate it, and to try to make it a better place. So much of Dr. Chatterjee's work really has helped that to happen.
He will be sorely missed by friends, family, and everyone within the debating community at large.
I would like to invite Mr. Jawhar Sarkar, former MP and former member of the Indian Administrative Service, upon the podium to speak a few words and share his memory with Dr. Chatterjee. Thank you.
Good evening. My last conversation with Sandip was about my uncle whom he had treated, and he told me after a few minutes that he was abroad. So I cut my conversation short, but he didn't tell me why he had gone abroad, which was, I learned the sad state of development much later. And the second last one was about age and dying. Now, we had a bit of a difference of age, quite a bit. In fact, when I was passing out of St. Xavier's, Sandip, I calculated, was in class 2. Just to keep telling him that I have a heart for my age. And between Sandip and Kunal, they decided that they respect my age only when I come in a wheelchair. I haven't obliged them yet. Now, I just can't believe that I'm standing here today talking about Sandip, and every time I look at his face, I can't believe he's not there anymore. He was there available at short call anytime. Anytime. I can't recall the number of people he has helped, number of people had referred to him, and that was one aspect of his character that people won't forget easily. In fact, people asked me twice, for the last 3 years, I'd been to his nursing home twice, and they asked me, for God's sake, why did you go to Park Nursing? Small things, and I said, I dread hospitals like every normal human being, and whenever something cropped up, my wife advised that I should get admitted, and amidst the choices that we had, I always decided to go to Sandip first. And all these things happened after I joined a particular party. Nothing happened to me before that. I'd never been inside a hospital, so I don't know the connection between the two. And on both occasions, Sandip treated me as a brother. Now, St. Xavier's 9 years means nothing, because St. Xavier's is an everlasting institution. It instills certain values in us that live far beyond us. And I could see from Sandip and Kunal and many others that age and eras notwithstanding, there were these sterling qualities of St. Xavier's. We were not so lucky in that sense that for some reason it all depends on who's there to get things moving on things like debates and essays and quiz. Incidentally, this combination of debate, essay and quiz explains why I could move in a particular direction. There was not much of academic strength or wealth in me, and this was the nurturing ground. This was the time, just for a recap, in the late 60s, Mr. C.R. Irani, who was famous for many things and infamous for some others, decided to set up a Calcutta study circle. So Calcutta circle remains common, and somehow Radhakrishnan is sitting there. He was with me. So there were lots of us who were involved, and public speaking was one of them. But soon after that, in college, while you guys had the privilege of carrying on this thing, we were generally told to shut up. We entered Presidency College under a swirling, under a menacing, under a devastating series of red flags with everything taken over. 1969, Calcutta was a dreadful place, not because of any ideology that is romanticized much unrealistically now, but life was solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. And chaps like us who came into college, we were told that debating is a bourgeois vice. That notwithstanding, people like Supriya Chaudhary, Supriya was then Dasgupta, Supriya Kullan teaches in Pennsylvania, we still formed the debating society, and every time we won and would come back to college, we would get bashed up. Would get bashed up, a ceremonial bash up for having violated the code. Nevertheless, debate, once it's in you, it stays forever. You don't forget it like cycling or swimming. And I was very, very glad, and must congratulate Kunal, Pradeep, Sandip, despite his truancy, for instilling the spirit of debate in Calcutta and keeping it alive. It really has a worth far beyond just the swordsplay of words. It stimulates the mind at a much faster rate, responses. And I have been on the receiving end of Sandip's wit. I've been in the receiving end. In fact, as I was saying, the second last time we met was here in one of our debates, where he got up on stage and said that Johar, of course, doesn't need any of he's not nice to me because he doesn't require me. I mean, that's pretty off the mark. He said, I am a surgeon who treats brains and a spine. And being in his current position, I don't think he has any necessity for either of them. And there I was with no right of reply. He never allowed me the right of reply. He was descriptively very correct. And I fully endorse his statement that my brief, which I said, tenure or visiting professorship in a particular place really didn't require much of Sandip's skills. As a moderator, he was outstanding. And so is Kunal. They're both outstanding, and I feel very proud of the fact that my school has produced people who can carry on the tradition and take it to its excellence. A few words about his professional side, on which I have very little competence to speak. Sandip had a social commitment in medicine, in the practice of medicine, that many perhaps don't know. Many know him as an excellent surgeon, an outstanding surgeon, a good doctor, a good debater. But his social commitment was when one of the first things that I did after getting into the parliament was to ask people wiser than me, a few questions. And he led me on to about half a dozen issues. And there are a couple of them, and I was trying to recall today. One issue that he raised from pediatric surgery, from that side, neurosurgery, which is today currently under active discussion. Okay, I'll de-bureaucratize what I just said. It means that it has high chance of success. The issue that he raised was that we have this all sorts of fancy named schemes in India, and one of them attends to the condition where a fetus acquires a spinal defect much too early. So the government's response, like all government's response to these, are to consult a wide varying range of specialists and come to somewhere a policy that is neither a mean nor a median. Somewhere there, we just get them all together and try to make sense. So the government's current policy right now is that after a woman's pregnancy is discovered, she is given doses of folate, fortified iron, and then 500 micrograms of folic acid. Sandip sat with me for 2 hours to explain why this 500 micrograms and why the timing was all wrong. I asked him every question possible. He explained that by the time the pregnancy is discovered, the formation has already started, and the defect is only accentuated. It's too little and too late. I remember the two words, it's too little and too late. So I said, what on earth would you ask me? What can I do? He said, just go and bang Parliament and keep raising this issue again and again. I was a stranger to, so I didn't know how to go on banging Parliament. I found it bangs itself all the time. I raised this issue. I said, first of all, give me something erudite. Remember, the moment you become what I became, your level of credibility and education crashes to the ground. So I need to rescue it. You give me something credible. So he was holding a chair of a body of pediatric neurosurgeons, and he gave me that paper, which was presented. I went and presented to the health minister and tried to explain. He explained. Nothing moved. So I raised it as a parliament question. Nothing moved. I raised it again, just to give you the process in which democracy functions. Raised it again. Nothing moved. Finally, I sought a contraption known as special mention or a calling attention. It goes by lottery. It came up. I rang up Sandip and told him, Sandip, I'll be speaking. He said, Apna kache ja kagoj ate tate hoye jabe. In 10 minutes flat, you've got to say something. So said exactly what I was tutored, that 500 micrograms is not sufficient. Panels of doctors have said 4,000 micrograms are required, number one. And number two, please don't give it after the pregnancy is discovered. Please give it to all eligible women of that childbearing status. All. And this extra dosage is absolutely neutralized. It doesn't affect anyone. But if you give it as a matter of routine with fortified salt, with common salt, like many other ingredients that we give, it will save a few thousand children from stunting and from other orthopedic disabilities. So this issue, I raised it because I remember this was one of the issues. There were several other issues where he tried to explain to somebody who could never qualify for NEET or something. He tried to explain in his own way, and I tried to explain to people who were again qualified in other dimensions, disciplines, but not enough to understand. And the good news is that a few months before he died, or rather last year, we got an information that it had gone to the National Medical Commission, who had sent back some questions, and they had said that they had raised a few issues, and I would talk to perhaps Sudip or Uttara and try to find out who's heading it now and get the replies back. So it's on the roll. It's on the roll. I mean, it takes its own sweet time, but remember, no one on earth would know if this policy is implemented, how many lakhs of children would be saved just because a doctor went out of his way to insist on getting such a thing like this, a very small, innocuous thing from 500 micrograms to 4,000 micrograms, not on the second month, but at the childbearing stage, so that immediately after conception, with the beginning of the formation of the uterus, it's already shielded. This is the type of thing. This is the type of thing that I remember about Sandip. And apart from debating skills, another thing, and this one is perhaps not the right time to speak about it, because the medical profession is up in arms about public ethics, political ethics, or the lack of it, absolute lack of it. And while you can guess about the lack of ethics in public life, I have empirical proof of it, the only difference. But having said that, on medical ethics, Sandip was one of the crusaders. He never spared his profession. So every time I found a paper on medical ethics, on all aspects relating to medical ethics, from bribing of doctors to conducing to many other things. And as you know, one of the greatest challenges we are up against today is the pharma mafia, the pharma mafia of the whole world. So Sandip went far beyond his own excellence as a surgeon, as a debater. He went on to social issues that most people would not be able to articulate. And not only that, once he got on to the issue, he could keep bullying, keep reminding, and getting things done. So that is the Sandip I remember, ever smiling, sometimes scowling and threatening, sometimes giving you the rapier's tip, and most of the time involved in philanthropic work, in delving into issues that would stand up for a long, long time after he has passed off. With these words, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing stories with us that really made us think that, yes, he was a person who was just not just a doctor to a society, but somebody who inspired lakhs and lakhs of people, thousands of people to be philanthropic, to be kind to individuals. So we have a video from one of our overseas associate, Mr. Sean Dolan, who spent a considerable time with Dr. Chatterjee at the CDC International Tour 2019. Can we please have the video on the monitor, please?
Whose achievements you could write on a post-it note. And there are people whose achievements probably need their own wing at the British Library. And Sandip definitely was one of those. I'm not going to comment on all the things that he's done. I'm just going to talk about what he meant to me. I think first and foremost, he was just a brilliant debater. Absolutely no doubt and I've been in this game long enough to know when there's no debate to be had, and on that there is no debate. But I think what really touched me is just how much he got the power of debating and the power of helping the next generation find their voice. It's like giving them wings. When you give them their voice, there's nothing they can't do, and it is the best medicine I have ever known to turn students into leaders. And it is an incredible achievement that he spent so many years dedicating his life to just that. I think he also gets the power of debating not as this cynical thing that divides people, makes them argue, but its incredible power in building consensus and bringing people together. And I owe him a personal debt for bringing together debating in Calcutta with debating in London, and I think both our communities have grown enormously from the contribution that he made. And I think in particular I want to draw attention to his mentorship for some of my Harrow students who still talk about the great work that he's doing in Calcutta and the support that he gave them. Again, an incredible achievement. So I just want to sign off by saying two things to Sandip. I think first, thank you for the incredible life you lived and the huge contribution that you made to debating in India and around the world. And that I will miss you. You are one of a kind. We will never get another one like you. So thank you. Bye for now.
Dr. Chatterjee was an invincible part of the telegraph debates, and to quote Pradeep Uncle, indeed it was always that these debates had a lot of visitors, but there was only one best speaker or moderator, and that was Dr. Chatterjee for us. We have a short video from the ABP group who have taken time to compile his pictures and pay homage to him. Can we please have the video on the monitor, please?
The Telegraph's relationship with Dr. Sandip Chatterjee is richly layered, encompassing various dimensions of collaboration and intellectual synergy. However, the most conspicuous aspect of this multifaceted association lies in his prominent role as a key figure at Calcutta Club The Telegraph National Debate.
Good evening and welcome to the much-awaited Telegraph and Calcutta Club National Debate. I think we have to thank COVID for deserting us, for Cowboy Shakis for avoiding us, and to the Telegraph and Calcutta Club for arranging this evening for us. I know whenever you see me on this stage in this club, I conjure in most of your minds the "oh no, not him again" reaction.
He held a deep affection for Calcutta Club The Telegraph National Debate, a sentiment that is wholeheartedly reciprocated by The Telegraph as well.
The Telegraph was founded in 1982, also designed ironically by an Englishman, Edwin Taylor of the Sunday Times, also set up to right a wrong in terms of English dailies of that time. And for 50 years, it has been there to right the right with a W, the right with an R. And its slogan is unputdownable.
Like a conductor guiding a symphony of sharp minds and even sharper tongues, he didn't just present speakers, he unveiled them with flair. Each introduction was a performance in itself, delivered with his signature blend of humor and gravitas, as the audience waited with bated breath for what he'd say next.
Mr. Shashi Tharoor. Shashi, a man who is Indian by birth and British by behavior, Keralite in origin and Bengali by character, Hindu by admission and anti-Hindutva by assertion, a diplomat by design and a politician by profession. Shashi's razor-sharp wit and stellar oratory against British imperialism in the Oxford Union
won him more male admirers than his female fan following, which he had before that. And the final speaker to wrap up the opposition for today's debate is a Calcutta boy, Mr. Shopun Dasgupta. The Calcutta boy from La Martiniere, Calcutta, and Oxford wrote in the Telegraph last Thursday, "There is nothing more appealing than the possibility of political uncertainty to excite the imagination of the editorial and intellectual classes in India today." I like the distinction between editorial and intellectual in that statement.
His ability to frame the conversation was remarkable. Every debate was set against a backdrop of sharp wit, insightful commentary, and the meticulous research that Dr. Chatterjee always brought to the table.
In fact, even democracy, he points out, could be at peril if the constitution is changed. And as I say, already democracy in this country has changed. When we say it is for the people, by the people, of the people, today we should spell it for the people, F-A-R, the people, by the people, B-Y-E, the people, and of the people, O-double-F, the people. And therefore, democracy can be interpreted depending on those that are in power. We talk a lot about our freedom of speech. There is no doubt that all of us here have a freedom of speech in the country. But today the question is, both in this state and in the center, do we have freedom after our speech? And that's the question I often ask myself.
What set him apart wasn't merely his agreement or disagreement with the speakers, but the manner in which he interjected with impeccably timed quips. Even when he had to offer a rebuke, he did so with such warmth that it invariably brought a smile to everyone's face.
Dhanyavad, Hardik ji. That was the leader of the proposition talking to you about his disillusionment with the pillars of democracy. But Hardik ji is obviously a very passionate Gujarati because he thinks clearly that New India in the motion refers to Gujarat.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. I think I owe Mr. Sarkar an apology. I forgot to tell you which political party he represents in the Rajya Sabha, but I think Calcutta Club members should not have great difficulty in deciding that at the end of his speech. I also took the liberty of giving him almost 80 seconds more than he was allocated to him. This was to compensate for the 14 days he's not been able to speak in the Rajya Sabha in the last 2 weeks.
Was that the constitution should be scrapped because it smells of colonialism. And these were the three major points that the proposition feels the constitution should be changed for. Looking at the president of the Calcutta Club, looking very unhappy in the front row, I wondered whether he had the thought that the Calcutta Club was also had a colonial origin, so maybe by the same argument it should be scrapped as well.
His humor, subtle and sharp, was the balm that soothed even the most heated of debates. Yet beneath that ease, wit lay an intellect as razor sharp as the fiercest minds on the stage. He kept pace effortlessly.
I think when we hear his voice and the stories which he shared with us like today through the video, and every time we listen to that baritone of his, it's as if he's here with us and he's making us laugh with his witty remarks. I think that is the point where we realize that he lives on, and this is what we have to take from him, and we learn from him that this is not the end, this is just the beginning of something nice. So we have Professor Krishna Sen with us, and I would request ma'am to please come on the stage and share a few words and stories.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for not making me a fallen woman. I actually broke my hip bone, and I'm just off the walking stick. So that is why I need some help. It's so hard to talk about Sandip. I would like to thank Kunal and Pradeep for asking me to speak here, but it does distress me. As Johor said, it's not we who should be speaking in Shondip's memorial. He was so much younger than us. But the thing is, how does one describe Shondip? It is really, really very hard, to encapsulate a man of such varied talents in one slot. The nearest analogy that I could think of for Shondip is the term used by the European Renaissance in the 15th and 16th centuries to describe a personage like Sir Francis Bacon, who was at one and the same time both a man of science and a man of letters, and equally adept at both. The term was, and I quote, encyclopedic man. In other words, the range of intellectual abilities is so extensive that the brain of that person is truly encyclopedic. So as we know, Shondip was not just he's not a leading microneurosurgeon, he was a miraculous microneurosurgeon. He saved people from near death. He was also a brilliant academic in his role as professor and head of neurosurgery at the Vivekananda Institute of Medical Sciences. And for a doctor to be a leading academic, there are some, but not everybody. And then a skilled photographer, a charismatic speaker. But the main thing about Shondip was that he was a wonderful, wonderful human being. So many times I've called him up and said, Shondip, I need some advice about, a medical, perhaps, suggestion. He really was only a phone call away. But there is a particular reason, and Johor has briefly mentioned that we need to celebrate Shondip today. I mean, we heard him speaking. We know what a great doctor he was. But more than that, in what is happening in the medical profession today in West Bengal, Shondip was, in the true British sense of the word, a doctor and a gentleman. And we need to remember that there can be such people, doctors with social conscience, as well as doctors with wit and kindness and humanity, in view of the disgusting face of the medical profession that we're seeing daily on television. So Pradeep asked me to speak briefly about the joy of speaking and debating to commemorate these two fine arts of which Shondip was a maestro. And the way he spoke, and I have been on many debates with him, I think, again, one can only sum it up in the words of that great rhetorician of ancient Rome. You remember? Seneca the Elder, who wrote these great books of rhetoric, which were taught in the schools in Rome to the sons of Roman nobility, so that they could then, like Mark Antony, sway the public on Capitol Hill. Shondip was the epitome of what Seneca the Elder would like a speaker to be. And that quotation, which I remember very well from Seneca's book of rhetoric, to be a good speaker, he said, be poised, be sincere, be pertinent, be illuminating, be humorous, and then be seated. Shondip never, ever, ever overstayed or overstepped the amount of time he was given. And what he managed to pack in, that enormous range. That is another thing I would like all of you to remember about Shondip as a speaker. Not just his charismatic personality on stage, not just the scintillating wit, not just that, unusual choice of words. Shondip had the capability not just to say the right word at the right time, but this is very important, in the flow of debating, not to say the wrong word at the wrong time. He was extremely, extremely suave, as you saw when he criticized anybody. But what one really wants to remember about Sandip as a debater is his tremendous decorum. Just as he was a gentleman, he was a very decorous gentleman and a very decorous speaker. As you must have noticed from some of the excerpts you just heard, he could be impeccably courteous while criticizing. That is truly, truly difficult. And it is something that the young members of the CDC do need to follow. And then the second thing I would like to point out about Sandip as a speaker that I've always marveled at, and that is the range of his intellect. You know, Sandip was a person, whatever the topic was on, it didn't matter. He would just range from history, political science, international relations, literature, culture, the Bible, with the kind of ease that denotes true familiarity. And I used to sit and wonder, how does a doctor know so many things? I don't know so much about medicine. How does he know so much about so many things? And the final thing that I would like to say about Sandip as a debater, he had a tremendous sense of humor. I'm not just talking about his wit, which was ineffable, but a tremendous sense of humor. Sandip could laugh at himself. He could take a joke against himself. I remember in one particular debate when he was on the other side and I was in the opposition, and he'd made this wonderful speech and all that, and so I got up and said that I wonder why Dr. Sandip Chatterjee calls himself a brain surgeon. I think he should call himself a toe surgeon, because I have heard that brain surgeons tickle the toes of patients to see if their brain is responding. I can assure you that Sandip laughed louder than the audience. He didn't mind a joke against himself. You know, way back in the 7th century AD, Banu Bhattu, one of our great classical scholars, wrote this, well, it's called a novel these days, a narrative called Kadamburi, where he summed up the essence of a great man. The great man must master 64 kalas or arts. And there was, of course, archery and horse riding and all that, but one of them was the art of speaking well. I think Banu Bhattu would have approved of Sandip. But also, he said, the nobleman must also know all about the way the world moves, in other words, science. Sandip fitted that as well. Now, as you know, this great tradition of debating, Kolkata has had a great tradition of debating. Right through the 1960s to the 1980s, the center of Kolkata debating was, for many of you, you may remember, the lovely old bungalow in which the British Council used to be housed. And Sandip and Kunal, very younger people, were there also. But the great luminaries at that time, if some of you may remember, Professor N. Vishwanathan, Mr. Sudhanshu Das Gupta, yes? Ronojoy, yes, Ronojoy Kalekar, Mr. Devadasan, and then after that, Sundar Chatterjee, Nirendu Das Gupta, Bobby Saldana, Arosina Roy, and of course, hovering somewhere on the younger fringes in those days, my very dear friend Bachi Karkaria and myself. Yes. And one of the great moments was when either Arrow or Sandip spoke before Bachi, and I think the organizers tried it that way. So the microphone used to be cranked up, cranked up, cranked up, cranked up to get to that height. And then comes Bachi, and the microphone goes crank down, crank down, crank down, crank down to get to that height. And Bachi says, I bet they planned it. And then there was a lull somehow in debating. And then in 2012, as you all know, Dr. Sandip Chatterjee, Dr. Kunal Sharkar, and Rotarian Pradeep Guptu inaugurated the Calcutta Debating Circle, I believe, on a roadside on the bonnet of a car, which is exactly what a person like Sandip and his friends would do. And I want to compliment the Calcutta Debating Circle not only on revitalizing this great tradition of debate in Kolkata, but doing something which the earlier generation did not do. They have augmented it by training promising young debaters to carry on the tradition and bringing in very, very able speakers, even from abroad. And I remember Kunal and Sandip often went abroad to bring the speakers here that the young people could listen to. That is something that is very, very valuable. We, in those days, did not have the chance to do such things. I remember that all we could take out of India in terms of foreign exchange was $5. And I do remember walking out with $50 tucked in my shoe many times, because you couldn't survive on $5. But now it's easier, and they could bring in really good speakers to inspire the younger generation and to teach them. As the prophet said in Ecclesiastes, in the Old Testament of the Bible, that which fits Sandip's character as a debater perfectly. If thy words be not more beautiful than silence, then be silent. As I said, Sandip knew that very, very well. Never a word out of place, never a word too many. And so, it is our great misfortune to have to bid adieu to this encyclopedic man so very early. My heart goes out to the family. I too have suffered a loss recently, and I can empathize with this pain. I will not end with the usual adage, may his soul rest in peace. I firmly believe that the soul of a good man always rests in peace. And Sandip was, above all, a good man and a gentleman. So I want to end by saying that Dr. Sandip Chatterjee is, or was, but is in the way he lives in our hearts and minds. So I will use the present tense. Dr. Sandip Chatterjee is a great, good, wonderful doctor and gentleman whom legions of his grateful patients, friends and admirers will remember decades from hence with respect and affection. And I want to stress that last word. Many are remembered with respect. Sandip will also be remembered with great affection. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those kind words. Ma'am mentioned about how the Calcutta Debating Circle nurtures young debaters and speakers, and indeed Dr. Chatterjee had a huge contribution to it. He was a mentor for numerous youngsters, and all of them decided together that they want to pay a tribute to him through a recorded message for him. Can we please have the video on the screen, please? Oh, we have a short announcement to make. That is, after a couple of speeches, we have a short recital by Mr. Shaunak Chattopadhyay. And it's a request to all of you not to leave without having the Sandip special fruit cake. It's a request. We have arranged for it, and we would love it if all of you could just stay back for it. Thank you. Can you please have the video on the screen? Yes, I'll mention him after the...
The news of Dr. Chatterjee's untimely demise hit me harder than any debating rebuttal ever could. He was someone with a natural flair for debating, an extremely passionate debater whom all of us looked up to. I remember the very first time I interacted with him was the 2022 state level championship. The debate was on Marx versus character, And he, in his original style, came up with a simple line that marks deal with answering questions, but character is all about questioning answers. That's a line that I fondly remember. And his original style, which involves wit, humor, and true enthusiasm, is something that all of us will always be inspired by. I hope that we, as budding debaters, can carry on his legacy.
The earliest memory I have of Sandip sir is him as the moderator of the first state championship that I had participated in. From the very first day, it struck me how beautifully he could speak on anything, not just on emotion or on something which he wanted to present logically, on anything. And how humble a person he was, how affectionate he was, and how encouraged we felt around him. Him passing away is actually, I don't know, came as a shock to all of us. Me, Moinak, the people who, met him at perhaps the first debates of our life, and the imprint of him speaking as a debater, the amount of inspiration we derived from him as a debater will always remain with us wherever we go. May his soul rest in peace.
Hello, my name is Ram Daftari. I will always remember Dr. S. Chatterjee as one of the best debaters I ever came across. He had the unique skill of delivering amazing arguments while keeping the entire audience engaged with his humor, and he could deliver sharp rebuttals to his opponents without offending them. However, the one thing he was the most passionate about was bringing in young people into debating and making them feel comfortable. When I was 16, I was a Q panelist at the Calcutta debate, asking questions to the parliamentarians there. After the debate, when refreshments were served, I was ready to escape because I thought I had no stature among these people. However, he ensured that I stayed for a bit longer and interacted with everyone there. This clearly made me understand for the first time that at a debate, everyone is an equal and only their arguments matter. That is what he stood for. Thank you, Dr. Chatterjee.
Dr. Sandip Chatterjee was oratory embodied, he was wit exemplified. I remember my first interaction with Dr. Chatterjee. It was at a debate that he was moderating and in which I was a participant, and we had all stepped out for lunch break. He came and struck up a conversation with a few of us debaters. Now, I was very intimidated because just a few hours earlier, Mr. Guptu had told us that he was a brain surgeon without a heart. Now, after telling us that he had not read literature, he does not read literature frequently, and he had read Shakespeare in his younger days, he asked us which Shakespearean text we are studying. And when we told him it was Merchant of Venice, he proceeded to recite verses and speeches from it perfectly, as if he had read it yesterday. And that was just one of the instances when Dr. Chatterjee's immense knowledge, his intelligence, and of course his presence of mind amazed everyone. But the most remarkable thing about Dr. Chatterjee was the fact that despite being a man of such eminence, he was always approachable. He was always encouraging towards the young debaters of the city. And I hope that some of us can carry forward some of the rich legacy that Dr. Chatterjee has left in the art and the science of debating, as he called it.
Dr. Chatterjee was a neurosurgeon and a debater and embodied the absolute best of both. But to us budding debaters in Calcutta, he was so much more. He was nothing short of an idol, someone whom we aspired to be someday with a ton of effort. The only thing I remember about Sir's speeches is the absolute elegance with which he flowed from argument to argument. His wit and humor were absolutely inspired. In fact, I remember there was this one particular debate which debated from the original line of thought and became a very state versus central debate. And Sir brought it back to the original line of thought by mentioning this humorous analogy where he said that if the central is considered as the mother-in-law of the household and the state be considered as one of the daughters, then in that case it is the husband, or in other words the general public, who faces the pressure and the misinformation from both sides of the house and thereby falls a victim to the entire situation, right? The main point being that for each and every one of us in this video, debating is so much more than just an extracurricular activity. It is a passion. And the very core of this love that we feel towards debating has been made by Sir. Which is why every time that I think of him, all I do is smile. Because I realize that from now on, whenever we speak at a major tournament, whether we address a public gathering or even if we are conversing with someone even, it won't just be us speaking through the skills that we learned over the years. It will be the Dr. Chatterjee in all of us speaking out against the norm and always for the cause. On behalf of everyone from West Bengal, outside West Bengal, around the
All of us were so carried away by the words of the students that we regret that it was paused in the middle due to some technical glitch. But I must mention that nobody from CDC's end instructed them. Such was the love that and the impact that Dr. Chatterjee had on these young minds. It's easy to leave a mark on older people, but it's very difficult to leave a mark on younger generation, and he did do that, and which is why they spontaneously came up with this video. And we have one of his mentees in the audience here today, so thank you, Nikhilesh, for being here today and for this video. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Sunir Agarwal, who the man behind the Akash Education Institute and one of CDC's steadfast growing associate, to share a few words. Please, sir, come up to the podium and please share a few words.
I will just take a minute. I still remember the day I was traveling on a flight and he was sitting beside me. He was so humble and polite that despite being such a senior doctor, he gave his own introduction and we started the conversation. The moment he realized that I'm into schooling and I'm into coaching students for NEET, we had a long debate on something which I'm not supposed to disclose here. The entire flight, we kept on arguing. He was like, to be honest, I'm not supposed to disclose that. And after that, we remained connected. It was years back. After that, we remained connected with each other. We had so many events together. And I was literally amazed by the point that despite being such a busy doctor, when it came to debating, he was always available. We had the liberty to call him, to speak to him at any point of time, because if it was a matter related to debating. I hope, I don't know, I have no words for him. We'll all miss him. Thank you.
We have a short video of him, which was taken last year at the Telegraph Calcutta Club debate. Can we please have the video on the monitor, please?
Who's been a debating stalwart and a debating partner of myself for decades, Dr. Sandip Chatterjee.
Talking about time, I heard this story about two priests whose arguments were really weak and they still had to preach. And one said, "My argument is so weak, I never stop when my time is up. I continue." And he said, "How long do you continue?" The other one asked. And he said, "I continue till I find people looking at their watches." The other said, "When the argument is weaker, I carry on even more when they look at their watches." And he said, "When do you stop?" He said, when they take their watches off their wrist, hold it against their ear and shake it to see was it working. And so, Mr. Chairman, sir, ladies and gentlemen, we've had two examples of two priests who waited for you to look at your watches and hang it next to your ear, so you can well understand how strong their argument must be. Is the press so oppressed that they need to prostrate themselves to please rather than to present? Suppressed, oppressed, or depressed they may be, but their job is to present. And it is through the medium of presentation that they may seek to please or displease. Presenting is the primary aim of journalism.
May I please request Shri S. Radhakrishnan, Director, National High School, to please come up on the stage and share a few words. It is to be noted that Dr. Chatterjee used to chair a lot of debates at National High School, and he was closely associated with the school's debating club.
Calcutta lost one of its most accomplished neurosurgeon and public speaker in Mr. Sandip Chatterjee. Dr. Chatterjee, I met for the last so many years apart from hearing him in other debates, in our own school debate, our school's annual signature event. He was kind enough to participate as a speaker and also as a moderator, along with Dr. Kunal Sarkar. As president of the school, I must admit that our students enjoyed his sense of humor that was as sharp as it was refined and witty, as mentioned by my previous speakers. We have lost a multifaceted citizen and a great mentor for all the young debaters. We will miss him in our future signature events. On behalf of school management, I extend our deepest condolence to his family and his close ones. Thank you very much.
I would like to call upon Mr. Shankar Ramalingam, Managing Trustee of the Calcutta Debating Circle, to please come up on the stage and share a few words. After this, we will have a small recital, post which there are tea and refreshments. Thank you all for waiting back.
Yeah, I'll just take a minute. A lot of tributes, a lot of respectful words, a lot of experiences. And Jawarda gave a very important statement about the Association of Medical new policies. I'd just like to share, I got a message from the head of the St. Xavier's Institution. Just 1 minute. He's called the rector. He said, I'm very much united with you in spirit and prayer. We are in a workshop at Dhyan Ashram till 17th October. We convey our best words. All of us have heard very good things about Dr. Chatterjee. We'll miss him throughout. And we at CDC, we thank everybody for coming here and expressing your condolences. Thank you. As Shaunok gets ready, as far as CDC's record is concerned, this is the last recorded speech that kind of his words to the young community of debaters, that Sandip, who, as he was fighting his health issues, This is the last recorded speech Sandip had sent to the CDC. Please play it. This is in May 2024.
On behalf of the Calcutta Debating Circle, as one of its founder trustees, I have been asked to speak to you about debating. Well, debating is the science of analysis combined with the art of expression. We know that debates existed in the time of Plato and Aristotle in ancient Greece. In this country, the longest debate, the longest answer to a simple vexing question is contained in our own Bhagavad Gita, where Hamlet would have addressed the question as, to fight or not to fight, that is the question. Debate is about logical thoughts, interlaced and punctuated with thoughtful illustrations. Hence, you have to question the answers as well as answer the questions. For if you have to prove the grass is greener on your side, then you either have to prove that the color of the grass is truly green on your side, or at least that it is brown on the other side. Yet, amidst all these discords and disagreements, we debaters follow a protocol of politeness. Hence, debating is about making a point without making an enemy. It is about trampling arguments without treading on people's toes. We used to say before that we follow the parliamentary style of debating. We now tell our parliamentarians to follow our debating principles. Because debating is not only about listening, it is about hearing. And believe me, from a professor of neurosurgery, that for hearing you require your brain. For listening, the ears are enough. But remember, I always say that debating is about verbal violence without physical rage. It is about dissecting arguments without resecting the arguer. It's about assailing the message without assaulting the messenger. Remember, in debating, you are speaking to influence rather than influencing to speak. Indeed, in a democracy, debating is the main freedom of reasoning. Though here in the world's largest democracy, to the two traditional types of reasoning, which is deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, we have added a new dimension, which we call political reasoning. But hopefully, you will steer clear of that type of reasoning in the debates that ensue. So the Calcutta Debating Circle welcomes, teaches, and encourages complete freedom of speech, combined with a control rule of expression within an allocated time frame decided by the man or woman with the bell to finish making your point. That is what debating is all about.
ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার পথিক জনের লাহ লাহ নমস্কার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার পথিক জনের লাহ লাহ নমস্কার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার ওগো বিদায় ওগো ক্ষতি ওগো দিন শেষের পতি ওগো বিদায় ওগো ক্ষতি ওগো দিন শেষের পতি ভাঙা বাসার লহ নমস্কার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার পথিক জনের লাহ লাহ নমস্কার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার ওগো পথের সাথী নমে বারম্বার ওগো বিশ্বজোড়া ফাঁদ পেতেছ কেমনে দিয়ে ফাঁকি আধে ধরা পড়েছি গো আধে কাছে বাকি বিশ্বজোড়া ফাঁদ পেতেছ কেমনে দিয়ে ফাঁকি আধে ধরা পড়েছি গো আধে কাছে বাকি বিশ্বজোড়া ফাঁদ পেতেছ কেমনে দিয়ে ফাঁকি কেন জানি আপনা ভুলে বারে হৃদয় যায় যে খুলে কেন জানি আপনা ভুলে বারে হৃদয় যায় যে খুলে বারে তারে ঢাকি বারে তারে ঢাকি আধে ধরা পড়েছি গো আধে কাছে বাকি বিশ্বজোড়া ফাঁদ পেতেছ কেমনে দিয়ে ফাঁকি বিশ্বজোড়া ফাঁদ পেতেছ কেমনে দিয়ে ফাঁকি বাহির আমার শক্তি যেন কঠিন আবরণ অন্তরে মোর তোমার লাগে একটি কান্না বাহির আমার শক্তি যেন কঠিন আবরণ অন্তরে মোর তোমার লাগে একটি কান্না হৃদয় বলে তোমার দিকে রইবে অনিমিখে হৃদয় বলে তোমার দিকে রইবে অনিমিখে চাই না কেন আখি চাই না কেন আখি আধে ধরা পড়েছি গো আধে কাছে বাকি বিশ্বজোড়া ফাঁদ পেতেছ কেমনে দিয়ে ফাঁকি আধে ধরা পড়েছি গো আধে কাছে বাকি বিশ্বজোড়া ফাঁদ পেতেছ কেমনে I must thank you, Pradeep Da and Kunal Da, is he here? For giving me this rare opportunity of presenting 2, 3, 4 songs, whatever, celebrating the life of this legendary figure. So I wanted to select songs not necessarily dedicated to lamentation, but necessarily to celebration. সেরকমই আরো দুটো গান গেয়ে শেষ করছি তাহলে। সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি, দুঃখে তোমায় পেয়েছি, পেয়েছি প্রাণ ভরে। সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি, দুঃখে তোমায় পেয়েছি, পেয়েছি প্রাণ ভরে। সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি, হারিয়ে তোমায় গোপন রেখেছি, পেয়ে আবার হারাই মিলন ঘুরে। সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি, দুঃখে তোমায় পেয়েছি, পেয়েছি প্রাণ ভরে। সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি। চিরজীবন আমার বিনা তারে, তোমার আঘাত লাগলো, আঘাত লাগলো বারে বারে। চিরজীবন আমার বিনা তারে, তোমার আঘাত লাগলো, আঘাত লাগলো বারে বারে। তাই তো আমার নানা সুরের তানে, প্রাণে তোমার পরশ নিলেম প্রাণে ভরে। সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি, আজ তো আমি ভয় করে নে, লীলা যদি ফুরায়, যদি ফুরায় হে ঝাকার। আজ তো আমি ভয় করে নে, লীলা যদি ফুরায়, যদি ফুরায় হে ঝাকার। নূতন আলোয় নূতন অন্ধকারে, লও যদি বা নূতন সিন্ধু পারে। নূতন আলোয় নূতন অন্ধকারে, লও যদি বা নূতন সিন্ধু পারে। তবু তুমি সেই তো আমার তুমি, আবার মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি, দুঃখে তোমায় পেয়েছি, পেয়েছি প্রাণ ভরে, সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি, হারিয়ে তোমায় গোপন রেখেছি, পেয়ে আবার হারাই মিলন ঘুরে, সুখের মাঝে তোমায় দেখেছি। ওই আসন তলের, ওই আসন তলের মাটির পরে লুটিয়ে রব, ওই আসন তলের, ওই আসন তলের তোমার চরণ ধুলায় ধুলায় ধূসর হব, ওই আসন তলের, ওই আসন তলের মাটির পরে লুটিয়ে রব, ওই আসন তলের, ওই আসন তলের। কেন আমায় মান দিয়ে আর দূরে রাখো, কেন আমায় মান দিয়ে আর দূরে রাখো, চিরজনম ওহে চিরজনম এমন করে ভুলিও না কো, অসম্মানে আনো টেনে পায় তব, অসম্মানে আনো টেনে পায় তব, তোমার চরণ ধুলায় ধুলায় আমি ধূসর হব, ওই আসন তলের, ওই আসন তলের। আমি তোমার যাত্রী দলের রব পিছে, স্থান দিও হে আমায়, স্থান দিও হে আমায়, তুমি সবার নিচে, আমি তোমার যাত্রী দলের রব পিছে, স্থান দিও হে আমায়, স্থান দিও হে আমায়, তুমি সবার নিচে, প্রসাদ লাগি কতই লোকে আসে ধেয়ে, প্রসাদ লাগি কতই লোকে আসে ধেয়ে, আমি কিছু ওহে আমি কিছু চাইব না তো রইব চেয়ে, ওহে আমি কিছু চাইব না শেষে যা বাকি রয়ে তাহাই লব, সবার শেষে যা বাকি রয়ে তাহাই লব। তোমার চরণ ধুলায় ধুলায় আমি ধূসর হব, ওই আসন তলের, ওই আসন তলের মাটির পরে লুটিয়ে রব, ওই আসন তলের, ওই আসন তলের।